The night was pitch black when my phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m., a notification from the motion sensors I'd installed around my family's orchard in Crestwood Valley. The grainy feed showed a figure in a hooded jacket, methodically spraying paint over my security cameras. Each stroke was deliberate, as if they knew exactly where to aim. By the time I'd scrambled to call the sheriff, the intruder had vanished, but not before leaving a note pinned to the barn door. Sell now, or lose everything. My cameras caught just enough to identify her, Carolyn Voss, the iron-fisted chair of the Crestwood Agricultural Co-op. She thought she could bully me into submission, but she didn't know I'd been preparing for her kind of war, armed with evidence, grit, and a promise to my late father to protect our land. What unfolded next would expose a conspiracy that threatened not just my orchard, but the soul of our entire town. 6 months ago, I, Nathan Brooks, inherited the Brooks family orchard, a 50-acre spread of apple and peach trees that had been my family's pride for 3 generations. My father, Henry, had poured his life into those groves, teaching me how to prune branches and red the soil before he passed from a sudden heart attack. Alongside the deed, he left a letter. Nathan, this land is our legacy. Guard it with everything you've got. The orchard wasn't just sentimental, it was my livelihood, supporting my small tech consulting side hustle. But the property taxes were brutal, and the co-op's new sustainability fees were bleeding me dry. To survive, I started a small agritourism business weekend tours, pick-your-own-fruit days, and a cider stand. I installed solar-powered cameras and motion sensors to keep the place secure, thinking vandals or raccoons would be my biggest problem. I never imagined Carolyn Voss would become my nemesis. She showed up the day after my first tour group arrived, a woman in her late 40s with a smile sharp enough to cut glass, clutching a leather-bound ledger like it held state secrets. "Mr. Brooks," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "I'm Carolyn Voss, chair of the Crestwood Co-op. Your little side venture is violating our agricultural standards." She claimed my tours were disrupting the valley's rural character and handed me a violation notice with fines that doubled weekly. When I asked for the co-op's bylaws, she produced a 12-page document, updated just weeks after my father's death, banning non-traditional farming activities. The timing reeked of a setup. I invited her to discuss it over coffee, hoping to reason, but she paced my barn like a prosecutor, snapping photos of my cider press and scribbling notes with the intensity of a CIA operative. That night, I found a hidden box in my father's study, stuffed with letters from Carolyn. The first, sent a year ago, offered to buy the orchard for half its value. The second, 6 months later, hinted at regulatory challenges if he didn't sell. The third, written a month before his death, was a cold threat. "Mr. Brooks, your refusal to cooperate is jeopardizing our valley's future. Reconsider or face consequences." Tucked inside was a USB drive labeled Co-op Talks. The recordings were chilling Carolyn's voice, smooth and menacing, pressuring my father. "Henry, these fees will bankrupt you unless you sell. The investors are impatient." My father's response was pure steel. "This orchard stays with my family. You'll have to bury me to get it." I called the co-op's office the next morning, demanding records of the new bylaws. The clerk, a nervous woman named Judy, whispered, "There was no vote." Carolyn pushed those rules through herself, said it was for emergency compliance. She added, "Your dad was the only one who ever stood up to her." We're all scared. It was clear Carolyn wasn't just a control freak, she was running a racket, and my orchard was her next target. As her red pickup cruised past my property that evening, headlights lingering on my barn, I knew I was in her crosshairs. Carolyn's campaign was relentless. Daily inspections began at dawn, her clipboard and camera documenting imaginary violations, pesticide levels, irrigation runoff, even the noise from my tour group's laughter. She stationed herself at the orchard's edge with a soil tester, claiming my land was contaminated and unfit for commercial use. When guests arrived, she handed them flyers about unsafe farming practices, scaring off a family reunion booking. Then I found her secret weapon, a hidden microphone tucked in a fence post, recording my conversations with customers. She was building a case to shut me down, all while preaching about protecting the valley. I doubled my security, adding night vision cameras and encrypted cloud storage. If Carolyn wanted a fight, I'd make sure every move was recorded. The turning point came when my sensors caught her vandalism. The paint-covered cameras were just the start. Me cider stand was trashed, and tire tracks matched her pickup. I shared the footage with Sheriff Tom Reynolds, a grizzled veteran who'd known my father. "Carolyn's been trouble for years," he said, "but this is hard evidence." He promised to investigate, but Carolyn was already escalating. She filed a $100,000 lawsuit through her attorney, claiming my illegal operations were devaluing the valley. The suit demanded I cease tours and pay crippling fines. I hired Lisa Morgan, a young lawyer with a knack for dismantling corrupt organizations. "This lawsuit's a house of cards," she said, flipping through Carolyn's bylaws. "No vote, no notice, got no legal ground." Lisa's digging uncovered a bombshell. The co-op's records showed no member approval for the new rules, and 20 farmers confirmed they'd never seen them. My father's USB revealed Carolyn coordinating with a firm called Valley Vista LLC, discussing land acquisition for a luxury vineyard project. My orchard was the final piece for a $30 million deal. Lisa filed a countersuit for harassment, fraud, and illegal surveillance, demanding $200,000. Then, at 1:43 a.m., my sensors caught Carolyn again, this time with bolt cutters, slicing through my gate's lock. My guest, Mike Larson, a retired private investigator staying for a quiet weekend, recorded her muttering, "Once this place is condemned, Valley Vista will pay me the bonus." Brooks doesn't know what's coming. She was planning to fabricate health violations to force a sale. I called Sheriff Reynolds, and he arrived as Carolyn was prying open my barn. She spun a tale about emergency soil testing, but Mike's audio was damning. "This land's the last holdout," she hissed into her phone. "The investors need it by next month." Reynolds found more in her truck: fake soil reports, keys to other farms, and a ledger detailing payments from Valley Vista $1.5 million over 2 years, with a $600,000 bonus for my land. The FBI was already watching her, part of a probe into rural land scams. Carolyn's arrest didn't end it. Released on bail, she sued me for $500,000, claiming I'd planted the evidence and defamed her. She even suggested my father's death was suspicious, demanding an autopsy. The accusation was a gut punch, but Lisa saw it for what it was: desperation. A journalist, Emma Klein, broke the story wide open. Her expose revealed Carolyn's 12-year history of strong-arming farmers in 4 states, always for Valley Vista's projects. Crestwood was her biggest heist yet, a plan to turn our valley into a corporate vineyard. The FBI offered me protection to testify. In court, Carolyn's own recordings bragging about bullying elderly farmers sealed her fate. She got 7 years for fraud and conspiracy, with $3 million in restitution. A settlement gave me $180,000, enough to save the orchard and start a fund to fight land scams. Today, my tours thrive, and Crestwood's co-op is farmer-led. My father's orchard stands as proof. No bully is untouchable when you've got truth and a camera.